So, good evening, everyone, and a very good evening to Krish, Hasni, and Vidya. And I suppose Rangana sir has also joined. So, good evening. And today I'm going to present as the looking back the journey of IELTS TTT course. So, it was a wonderful session, and a lot of learning happened in the last 10 days. And if I start my journey from day one, I'm going to introduce everything in a very brief format. And this goes something like this. So, from my journey of day one, what I learned was, or in fact, what we all learned was introduction to the IELTS format, challenges, and teaching strategies. Introduction to the course was something wherein we understood all different types of ways of understanding the IELTS as an exam. So it was also being very, I would say, in detail explained, and it made us understand the way we are supposed to present it to our students. So the first part which I really liked was the IELTS FAQs, which made me a lot of clearance. There was a lot of clearance in terms of how a student cracks IELTS. And there was a complete overview about the course, and it also told me about different types of teaching methodologies. So if I talk about this, I learned loop input, which is nothing but, of course, a training technique where the content being taught is also demonstrated through a training method which is being used. Then I learned lots of new words like brainstorming, micro teaching, and of course, the spelling over here is wrong, but it's British Council, and the difference between British Council, that is BC, and IDP exam body, which made everything clear. Then, as I moved to day two, this was the best part that I learned, and that was mastering IELTS speaking. So it was a day about speaking skills. So, of course, the listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. How do we crack all those skills? How do we understand the detailing? Apart from that, we also learned a new term, and that was GVPF. So, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and fluency, which also plays a major role along with LSRW, which again works together hand in hand. A new term was been introduced, which was for me especially, which was coherence and cohesion. So I understood lots of coherence and cohesive devices. I understood what's the meaning of it and identifying the student's problem in speaking. So through games, there were lots of other games which were introduced to us. And through those games, I understood what are different students' problems in speaking. And then how do we develop the speaking skills, and how do we make our students more speaking efficient? On day three, I also understood the major factor where most of the students lack, and that is writing skills. So a clear picture of what IELTS writing exam entails was being given. And after that, I started, in fact, we all started identifying students' problems and how to deal with it. So, writing, of course, has lots and lots of problems that the students deal with. So, two basic things were very beautifully cleared, and that was academic task, that is AT, and GT, which is general task. So, I understood what is the difference between academic and general task, and the nature of task was also being told as descriptive and discursive, which again helped me to understand what descriptive and discursive means. Recommended time for this writing skill exam is 20 minutes and 40 minutes respectively, according to the descriptive and discursive nature of the task. Word count, again, very beautifully registered in my mind, was 150 and 250 again respectively, and marking scheme, of course, 25% and 75%. So this made me even more clear on the fourth day. which was nothing but the power essay writing. Now, this is an acronym power, which says plan, organize, write, edit, and review. So very well explained, and I can never forget in my life now this acronym. So, and this was my favorite topic too. So, elements of the paragraph writing were been also introduced. So, I understood in detail what is an introduction, and there are three parts in an introduction. Then, main idea one, main idea two, and conclusion. Types of essays. I understood the major three different types of essays that have been asked normally in the writing exam. Of course, the problem and the solution type of an essay, advantage and disadvantage, and agree disagree. So registered completely now in my mind. Then on day 5, which was again very well, I would say executed, because there was a lot of listening happening. So IELTS listening, sub skills of listening. We understood many different types of sub skills of listening. Um, Yes, of course, this was a new method which was also called as LLM, listening lesson model, training the skills again. And discourse makers, the best part that I like was that discourse makers, cohesive devices, and cohesion fillers. All these are nothing but one. And then how do you really understand it? Training is always coming first if it's for listening, and testing is always later. That's the major take or the catch of the day, I would say. Never use meta language, as Krish told us. His mentor uh, used to always mention never use meta language. And then when I used, and then I was being corrected, I understood, oh, that's what is meta language. Task based learning, of course, was very well explained, and I understood bits and pieces of everything that was called as task based learning. LLM, of course, there are three parts in LLM: listening, lesson model, pre listening, during listening, and post listening, which again beautifully ended after day 5. Now arrived day 6. And day 6 was all about reading skills, which is my one of top most favorite skill. Yeah, so reading sub skills were being introduced. There were lots of reading different types of sub skills. Amongst those, the three important ones were intensive reading, skimming, and scanning. So I understood what actually skimming and scanning means, but it was also very important that reading for gist goes hand in hand. Now, here, when we crack the reading skill exam and we understand how do we, or where, in fact, should the scanning, skimming, and intensive reading be used? So, this is what I understood was specific for any specific information in the question. We should always be using scanning. Matching the information, we must be using skimming, and yes and no questions, we must be using intensive reading, which took me to an exciting day 7. And now day 7 arrived with the factors affecting exam course planning. Now here I understood that how is an exam course planned, and what are the factors that affect the planning. So learner's age, learner's background, class size, and proficiency levels were being checked and understood. Availability of resources and technology was being told in such a way that, all right, it's very important for us to see to it that the factors, these are the 5 factors which affect the exam course planning: time constraints and course duration, and learners' motivation and goal. Then came this day 9 and day 8, wherein I understood about how to be a successful exams teacher. Of course, that's the reason I joined the course for, and I understood the factors to consider in the exam course: time, syllabus, mock tests, and parameters. Of course, very, very, very important. And then later, when this day 9 came, and it just made me understand different types of games, which also said what are hot error corrections, what are cold error corrections, teacher's view game. Think back to your own language learning experiences. Beautiful game played wherein I understood that if my teachers, who made me understand the love for the language, what was that when I thought back? It was nostalgic at that time. Types of errors, of course, what kinds of errors have been made. So, of course, the day 10 was yesterday, and yesterday too, we learned a lot. But the most enjoyed activities were the games, power essay writing, and listening sub skills activities. These were the three best games in every section, everyday games. Power essay, very important. I loved this part. I'm never going to forget. Listening sub skills activities, of course. Now, what you learned from PDF? Of course, I learned a lot. To mention a few, very well planned PDFs, flashcards. Of course, there were some words which came onto my dashboard while I was, after every class, used to sit for 15 to 20 minutes and review my dashboard, as well as those words were reflected in the PDF. So IELTS FAQs also very, very important. I understood this from the PDFs. I've taken a nice copy and made a note also of it in my own notes. And how do you become an examiner? Of course, I am trying to be one, but it will take some time. But that was the best part of it. Problem facing trainers when teaching exam preparation classes, and do's and don'ts in every part. Of course, future plans for updating your skills. I will start training for IELTS soon, and TESOL is my next catch. So thank you for everything, Amanda Krish, and thank you, friends.